ਸਤਨਾਮ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀਓ। ਅਜਾ ਭੋਗੰਤ ਕੰਧ ਮੂਲੰਗ ਬਸੰਤੇ ਸਮੀਪ ਕੇ ਹਰੈ ਤਤਰ ਗਤੇ ਸੰਸਾਰੈ ਨਾਨਕ ਸੋਗ ਹਰਖੰ ਵਿਆਪਤੇ। ਤਤਰ ਗਤੇ ਸੰਸਾਰ ਹੈ ਨਾਨਕ ਸੋਗ ਹਰਖੰ ਵਿਆਪਤੇ। ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ। ਸੰਗਤ ਜੀ, ਧੰਨ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਅਰਜਨ ਦੇਵ ਜੀ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਜੀ ਸਲੋਕ ਸਹਿਸਕ੍ਰਿਤੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਸਭਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਗੁਰੂ ਅਰਜਨ ਦੇਵ ਜੀ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਦੇ ਸਲੋਕ ਸਹਿਸਕ੍ਰਿਤੀ ਬਾਣੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਸਲੋਕ ਸਰਵਣ ਕੀਤਾ। So we just all heard the 41st slok of Guru Arjan Dev Ji today. In this slok, Paatshah Ji saying to us, ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ajaa bhogant ਕੰਧ ਮੂਲੰ। Ajaa, Sangat Ji, translates to a goat. And they're using this example, Guru Arjan Dev Ji Paatshah is saying, it's just like a goat goes out, ajaa bhogant. Bhogant here, so the word bhog can translate to when somebody is enjoying something, and enjoying here, enjoying eating, bhogant, eating what? Kandmulang. Kandmulang translates to vegetables. So just like a goat goes out and enjoys eating these vegetables, manages to find some gajra, manages to find some muliya, manages to find some carrots, some radish, these different types of vegetables, and that goat's having a great time eating away. But then Sache Paatshah Ji saying where that goat actually lives, wherever that may be, in a jungle, wherever it is, Paatshah Ji kende ajaa bhogant kand moolang. Kende basante, basante means where that basante is staying, residing. Sameep, sameep means close to, lage. Kende close to what? Kende kehare, kehare means a tiger. ਕਹਿਣ ਦਾ ਮਤਲਬ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਇਹ ਇੱਕ ਹੁਣ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ this goat where Paatshah Ji saying this stays, ਕਹਿੰਦੇ close nearby also there are tigers there as well. ਕਹਿਣ ਲੱਗੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ so in that, because of that, ਕਹਿੰਦੇ what happens is now that goat isn't fully able to enjoy those vegetables, even though that goat loves to enjoy eating vegetables, but in the back of that goat's mind is that a tiger can come along anytime, because it's a tiger that lives close by and could take all this, can actually take my life away. So this could be all gone within an instant. I'm here enjoying my food, but me enjoying this food can actually become the cause of my own death. So oh pachari us pੈ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹ ਰਹਿੰਦੀ ਆ, and so that goat is living in that actual fear constantly. So ਇੱਥੇ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਜੀ ਕਹਿਣ ਲੱਗੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ, ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਕਿ ਤਤਰ ਗਤੇ, ਤਤਰ means in that same way, gate, gate means our state. So they're saying in that same way is our state. ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਇਹ ਹਾਲ ਸਾਡਾ ਵੀ ਐਵੇਂ ਹੀ ਆ, ਕਹਿਣ ਲੱਗੇ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਜੀ। ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਬੱਕਰੀ ਦੀ ਨਿਆਈ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਆ, ਕਹਿੰਦੇ in that same way we are like that goat. ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਸੰਸਾਰ ਸੰਸਾਰੇ means that us living in this world, we are the same, that same way, just like that goat is enjoying those vegetables. We are enjoying the different things within this life, and whatever that may be for us, we're experiencing pleasure through so many different things. We're enjoying so many different things within this life. For somebody, that enjoyment might be within their children. ਕੋਈ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਆ ਬਸ ਮੇਰੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਨੇ ਇਹ ਮੇਰੀ ਖੁਸ਼ੀ ਆ, Somebody will say that my children, that is where my happiness lies. That's where I get my enjoyment from. कोई कहता है कि मेरे जेड़े ये मेरे पोते आ मेरी पोतरियां. Somebody will say, well, I get that enjoyment from my grandchildren, spending time with my grandchildren, and it's the best thing ever. So ਸੰਗਤ ਜੀ, ਕੋਈ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਮੇਰੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਮੈਂ ਪੋਤੇ ਪੋਤਰੀਆਂ ਨਾਲ ਜਦੋਂ ਮੈਂ ਖੇਡਦਾ ਆ, ਮੇਰੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਉਹੀ ਅਸਲ ਵਿੱਚ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਵੱਡੀ ਖੁਸ਼ੀ ਆ. ਕਿਸੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਕੁਛ, ਕਿਸੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਕੁਛ. For somebody it's something, for someone it's something. And ਕਈ ਜਾਣਿਆਂ ਲਈ ਉਹ ਗੱਡੀ ਹੋ ਸਕਦੀ ਹੈ, ਉਹ ਕਾਰ ਹੋ ਸਕਦੀ ਹੈ. For somebody it could be a car. That this is what my enjoyment is. This is what I get a kick out of. This is what gives me pleasure in this life. And that's getting particular cars that they like. For somebody it might be equipment, technology, whatever it is. ਅਲੱਗ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਨੇ ਜਿਹਨੂੰ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਉਹ ਉਸ ਚੀਜ਼ ਨੂੰ ਭੋਗਦੇ ਨੇ. they enjoy. So ਪਾਠ ਚ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ in that way, ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਇੱਕ ਬੱਕਰੀ ਦੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਈ. But then what does that mean? ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਉਹ ਆਪਣੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ, ਉਹ ਅਸਲ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹ ਸ਼ੇਰ ਕੌਣ ਆ? ਕਿਹੜੇ? So what is that tiger for us? ਹੁਣ ਇੱਕ ਨਾਲ ਹੀ ਉਹਦੇ ਪਿੱਛੇ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਜੀ ਕਹਿਣ ਲੱਗੇ, ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਸੋਗ ਹਰਖੰ ਵਿਆਪਤੇ. ਵਿਆਪਤੇ means they're engrossed. ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਕਿਤੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਸੋਗ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ, ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ ਦੇ ਅੰਦਰ. ਸੋਗ means sorrow. And ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਜੀ ਦੇ say ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਕਿਤੇ ਵਿਆਪਤੇ ਕੀ? what are they engrossed in? ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਹਰਖੰ. Harkhang means joy. Sangaji, like that goat, that it's not even separate. Like that goat, whilst something is giving us joy, whilst that child, whilst that grandchild, whilst that partner, parents, car, whatever it is, jo bhi haga ya, that name that I have made for myself in society, mera jehda naam ban gaya ya panth de vich ek prachark da, as a speaker, that name that I have gained for myself, that gives me that sense of pleasure. That's what gives me enjoyment, that when somebody says my name. ਪਿਆਰਿਓ, ਤਾਂ ਪਰ ਇੱਕ ਤਾਂ ਗੱਲ ਉਹ ਆ, ਉਹ ਵਿਚਾਰੀ ਦੇਖੋ ਬੱਕਰੀ ਖਾਂਦੀ ਉਹਦੇ ਮਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਕ ਪਾਸੇ ਉਹ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਖੁਸ਼ੀ ਲੈਂਦੀ ਆ. that ਬੱਕਰੀ thinking this is great. ਪਰ ਨਾਲ ਹੀ ਉਸੇ ਵੇਲੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਮਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਖਿਆਲ ਆ ਜਾਂਦਾ, ਹਾਂ ਜੇ ਕਿਤੇ ਆ ਗਿਆ ਸ਼ੇਰ ਤਾਂ ਫੇਰ. In that same way, ਸਾਡੇ ਮਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਇੱਕ ਭੈ ਆ. There's that fear that say if something or another takes this away from me. In the same breath, as we are enjoying something, there is that fear in the back of our mind. And that fear is of, if this is taken away from me, then what? ਜੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਨੂੰ ਕੁਝ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ. ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਮੈਂ ਵੇਖਿਆ ਆ ਪਿਆਰਿਓ, ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਕੋਈ ਮਾਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਨਾਲ ਖੇਡਦੀ ਉਹ ਮਾਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੀ ਬੱਚੇ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਕੁਝ ਹੋ ਨਾ ਜਾਵੇ, ਤੈਨੂੰ ਤੱਤੀ ਵਾਉ ਨਾ ਲੱਗੇ. That mother is saying in the same breath as she is enjoying that child, she's saying to that child, I hope nothing happens to you. I hope that you don't get ill. I hope that this doesn't happen. Sangaji, as a parent, whoever is a parent out there listening, they will know if their child ever gets a fever and that child ever starts to get some sort of rash or spots, ਉਹ ਮਾਂ ਦੇ ਦਿਲ ਨੂੰ ਪੁੱਛੋ, ਉਹ ਪਿਤਾ ਦੇ ਦਿਲ ਨੂੰ ਪੁੱਛੋ. ਆ ਇੱਕ ਪਾਸੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਨਾਲ ਖੇਡਦਾ playing with that child, and that child comes out with a rash, and ask that parent what they go through. ਉਹ ਮਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਡਰ ਹੁੰਦਾ, that fear wells up within a second, thinking, I hope it's not meningitis, I hope it's not this, and will start checking whatever the means are of checking for these type of diseases. ਕਰਕੇ ਉਹ ਮਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਭੈ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਪਿਆਰਿਓ, ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਕਿਤੇ ਹਰਖਿਆ ਕਿਤੇ ਸੋ ਗਿਆ. ਪਰ this is that subtle, this is that dangerous, that the actual sog is sitting in at the same time as the joy. The sorrow is there sitting at the same time as that joy. How crazy is that? ਪਿਆਰਿਓ, ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਜੀ ਕਹਿਣ ਲੱਗੇ, ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਇਹੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਹਾਲ ਸਾਡਾ ਆ. ਕਹਿੰਦੇ but if we don't end up escaping from this, and then Pachaji go on to say in the next slok, Pachaji kind of changes the subject and the tone a little bit, because over here it's talking about living a life of a roller coaster. ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਕਿਤੇ, ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਕਿਤੇ, ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਉੱਤੇ, ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਥੱਲੇ, ਸਵੇਰੇ ਖੁਸ਼ ਆ, ਸ਼ਾਮ ਨੂੰ ਕਿਤੇ ਕੁਛ ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਰ ਕੀ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ, ਸ਼ਾਮੀ ਦੁੱਖ ਆ, ਸ਼ਾਮੀ ਕਿਤੇ ਕਿਸੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਸੁੱਖ ਆ, ਸਵੇਰ ਨੂੰ ਉੱਠਿਆ ਦੁੱਖ ਆ. For somebody, Sangat ji, they're living in this fear. Oh, phone aaya. I hope mum and dad's okay. Pata nahi ki ho gaya. Do you think they've got the virus now? That living, this isn't no way to live their life. Sangat ji, and this is so many of us that are living like this. And then Sangat ji Pacha ji go on to the next slok. In this slok, what they're going to do in this second slok, in this 42nd slok is, Guru Sahib Ji is going to give us, go into more detail of how people end up living in this up and down. And what is it that is causing immense suffering to people? Pachi kende chalang, chidarang. Chalang means there's people that live their life deceiving others. Sangat ji, somebody is deceiving their own partner. That same partner that they told that they love so much, that same partner they start to deceive. And sometimes that deceiving can be in such a way that you're deceiving them in cheating on them. That deceiving could be that you just can't be bothered to come home, straight home after work, and you want to go out and meet up with some friends, with some mates, and you just want to go out for a meal, and then you start lying to them, deceiving them that no, I'm just working extra at work. Deceiving these children that end up deceiving their parents. Those very parents that you say that I love so much, that same parents that have nourished us, nurtured us, brought us up, but then we end up deceiving them. We end up lying to them, smoking, drinking, relationships, all these crazy things behind their back, deceiving them. Using that money that they give us for all sorts of things. There's parents that are deceiving their children. There's parents that they may end up having an affair and deceiving the whole family. All these situations, all these things are happening in people's life in different ways. People are deceiving people in different ways. Sangat ji, and then Paach ji kehlenge chalang, chidrang. Chidrang is people when they're actually blaming others, accusing others of something. So somebody will put a crazy accusation on someone, and sometimes that just comes from a place of they're insecure in their own life. They've not found fulfillment in their own life, and they're constantly bada shakki eda manya. Sometimes we'll say he's got such a mind that he's always got shak on other people. He's always doubting other people. He's always thinking that somebody else is up to something, and there might not be nothing in it. But because of this is the way they've started to perceive and see people and see life now. And sometimes it's just to cover your own self, and you end up accusing somebody else just to cover your own back. And then Sangat ji, blaming others for your own faults, for your own mistakes. And this can start happening at such an early age. I see this on a more humorous note. I see this happening amongst my own children so often. And on a really light note here. Okay, ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਪਤਾ ਕੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਆ, ਉਹ ਹੁਣ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ with this whole homeschooling thing, ਉਹ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਹੁਣ ਆਪਣੇ ਪੜ੍ਹਾਈ ਕਰਦੇ ਉਹ ਇੱਕ ਜਣਾ ਪਿਆਰਿਓ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੇ ਜੂਸ ਪਾਇਆ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਗਲਾਸ ਕੱਪ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਤੋ ਉਹ ਆਪਦਾ ਇੱਕ ਜਾਣੀ ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਜੂਸ ਪਿਆ ਆ ਹੁਣ ਉਹਦਾ ਉਹਨੇ ਮਰ ਜਾ ਇੱਧਰ ਨੂੰ ਖਿਆਲ ਮੂੰਹ ਕੀਤਾ, ਉਹ ਹੱਥ ਲੱਗ ਗਿਆ ਤਾਂ ਜੂਸ ਡੁੱਲ ਗਿਆ. ਐਂਡ ਜਦੋਂ ਮੇਰੇ ਵਰਗਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੁਣ ਉੱਥੇ ਪਿਆ ਦੇਖਦਾ, ਉਹਨੇ ਇੱਕਦਮ ਮੂੰਹ ਪਲਟਾ ਕੇ ਵੇਖਿਆ, ਓਏ ਜੂਸ ਡੋਲ ਲਿਆ ਤੂੰ. ਐਂਡ ਇੱਕਦਮ ਉਹ ਬੱਚਾ ਕੀ ਕਰਦਾ ਹੈ, ਬੱਚਾ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਨੂੰ ਕਹਿਣ ਨਾਲੋਂ ਕਿ ਹਾਂ हाँ डैडी जी मेरा हत्थ लग गया सीगा, हाँ पिता जी मेरा हत्थ ਉਹ नहीं ਉਹਨੇ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਉਹ ਦੂਸਰਾ ਸੀਗਾ, ਉਹਨੇ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਇੱਕਦਮ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ 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 ਮੈਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ, ਉਹ ਭਗਤ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ, ਭਗਤ ਨੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਰਕੇ ਉਹਨੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਤਾਂ ਮੇਰਾ ਹੱਥ ਲੱਗ ਕੇ ਡੁੱਲ ਗਿਆ। ਸੰਗਤ ਜੀ sometimes you'll see kids doing this and it's so crazy. Paat ji saying here ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਕਿ this chhidrang meaning to accuse people. There's one is accusing people, then there's one not taking responsibility and blaming others because they're very similar. So accusations is one, is saying no onne kita hona, they must have done it or they have done it. And then the other thing is when you blame somebody for something, you can't just take that responsibility. I just gave an example in Punjabi to say that I see my kids do this, and this has happened about 2-3 times in the last few weeks, that my older son, he's ended up tapping the glass and spilling the juice. And then yes, he's done it accidentally because he's not been focusing. He's all over the shop and then he's looking somewhere else and then he's knocked the glass. And then, but straight away, you turn around and say, oh, you've spilled the juice, what have you done? And and his reaction will be, no, it's buggered. Blame his younger brother and say, Dad, no, he just called me and he was going like this with his hand, and they come out with all the craziest excuses. And then because of that, because he was calling me Dad, I ended up knocking the juice. So this is an example on a lighter level, but Sangaji, we're so prone to doing this, that ekdami always saying that the shakki mind saying that you know what, it must have been such and such that did that. And we get ourselves into so much trouble in these crazy assumptions, accusations that you know what, they must have done this. And it's our own mind going crazy. And instead of just reflecting, taking responsibility, is just always needing to shift the blame. Sangat ji, we'll never be able to work on ourselves if we're too busy constantly looking at other people's faults. So when I was reading this, that there's so many different perspectives of looking at this. There's one is Professor Sahib Singh ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਛਿਦਰੰਗ ਦਾ ਅਰਥ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਹਰ ਸਮੇਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਦੂਸਰਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਐਬ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਫਰੋਲੀ ਜਾਣੇ. And this is something so many of us can probably relate to. And this means is that ਦੂਸਰੇ ਦਾ ਐਬ ਫਰੋਲਣ ਦਾ ਭਾਵ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਆ constantly looking at the faults of others. How many times do we do this in our life? ਬਸ ਹਰ ਵੇਲੇ ਇਹੀ ਵੇਖੀ ਜਾਣਾ, ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆ ਔਗਣ ਆ, ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆ ਔਗਣ ਆ, this person's got this fault in them, this person's got that fault in them. Oh no, they're always talking bad about other people, they're always slandering. And you know, whilst saying that, all we're doing is we're constantly picking at their faults. And sometimes in our own relationships, and I spoke about this and I did a post about this yesterday, and a lot of people, you know, kind of connected to that post. I spoke about that, how when we're amongst, so children can be is constantly looking at somebody, and we can end up doing this with our partners a lot as well. So for example, if our partner is feeling a little down, we'll keep saying it to them. What's up with you today? Look at you, look at your face, you look so off, you look miserable. Ki hoya tenu aami aj sade yahan pe aaya? What's wrong with you? You just look all burnt from inside. You know, and saying, you're always angry, you always react that way. Pero har vele ਐਵੇਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਦੇ ਔਗਣ ਵੇਖੀ ਜਾਣੇ. And remember Sangat ji, and if everything is just energy, the more and more if we do Simran of this, and even if that is their energy, even if they are going through that difficult little, they might be having a down day, and ਅਸਲ ਵਿੱਚ ਭਾਵ ਹੀ ਇਹ ਸੀਗਾ ਕਿ ਆਪਾਂ ਇੱਕ ਦੂਜੇ ਨੂੰ ਆਪਾਂ ਚੱਕਣਾ ਸੀਗਾ, ਇੱਕ ਦੂਜਿਆਂ ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉਹ ਪਿਆਰਿਓ ਕਿਸੇ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਕੋਈ ਕਮੀ ਰਹਿ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਸੀਗੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਉਹ ਕਮੀ ਪੂਰੀ ਕਰਨੀ ਸੀਗੀ ਪਿਆਰਿਓ. And the whole point of this relationship with our partners, with our children, whoever it may be, constantly this negativity plastering into them, saying to our child constantly, ਲੈ ਆ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਮੂੰਹ ਬਣਾ ਕੇ ਬੈਠਾ ਰਹਿਣਾ ਆ, why are you always sitting there with your face all, you know, all messed up? Why are you, I think you're no good for nothing, you know what, you're always negative, you're not going to get anything done. I know you, that you're not going to end up doing that. You're not going to end up finishing your videos. I get that a lot. You know, I start a series, I start a project, and I get it all the time. You know, I'm not saying I do it to people too. I'm trying to live more consciously every day. I'm trying to watch my language, the way I speak to my child, the way I speak to my children, the way I speak to my wife. And yes, I go through those phases when I'm just saying, oh, what's up with you? Why do you always have to react like that? And I get it back a lot as well. I'm constantly getting it, saying, you're not going to finish that project. You're not going to do that. I know you. You're going to flop it. You're not going to complete it. Sangji, we don't realize we're reinforcing that habit. We're reinforcing that energy that we're sending towards them again and again. We're actually instilling it inside of them more and more. Just like Pyare, just like the Panj Pyare, they instill Naam inside of us. But every day, every moment, what are we instilling inside of other people? You know, and this is what we've got to be conscious of. Path is saying that always looking at the faults of others, and then what we end up doing is we end up instilling them inside of them even more, even deeper inside of them. And not realizing that if that's all we're thinking about them, about sitting at home, we could be thinking about somebody that is sitting 100 miles away and constantly talking about them, saying, have you noticed how they're always on edge? Have you noticed how he or she is always ready to kick off? You can't say anything to them because they'll just bang. You know, they're gonna be on it. You can't say anything to that person. And as we keep saying that, that's now become our Simran. That's now, we might be able to do Kirtan with a Vajja for 1 hour, which is all great, is all good. But what is the Simran that we're doing for the rest of the 8 hours? Is that we're constantly looking at somebody's Ogan. But when it comes to us, we don't want somebody else to look at our faults. But when it comes to us, we say to Guruji, please don't look at my faults. But then I get into this looking at everybody else's. But then remember that energy of somebody going through this period of their life, they might be struggling with these things. And Simran is जिस चीज़ दा आपां हर वेले हर समय चिंतन करी जाना, ਉਹ ਗੁਣ ਸਾਡੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਅੰਦਰ ਆ ਕੇ ਪ੍ਰਵੇਸ਼ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਪਿਆਰਿਓ. And what happens is eventually that comes and sits inside of us. If we are able to share, you know, positive things with each other, if somebody's positive and we're able to do that, but believe it or not, the truth is, if somebody's sitting 100 miles away and you keep acknowledging how they're always on edge and frustrated, but keep thinking about them that they are like that, we can actually transfer that energy into us and we will become like that too. That's why Pachi is warning us. ਇੱਥੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ, ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਵੇਖ ਲਾ ਧੀ ਮੇਰੀ ਪੁੱਤਰ, ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਛਲੰਗ ਛਿਦਰੰਗ ਸੰਗ ਜੀ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਜੀ ਨੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਕੀ ਕਿਹਾ ਸੀਗਾ, ਮੇਰੇ ਸੱਚੇ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਜੀ said to us, ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਸਾਂਝ ਕਰੀਜੈ ਗੁਣ ਹੈ ਕੇਰੀ ਛੋੜ ਆਵ ਗਣ ਚੱਲੀਏ ਪਿਆਰੇ. ਪਰ our ਸੱਚੇ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਜੀ, this is what they have given us. ਸਾਡੇ ਦਾ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਜੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਸਾਂਝ ਕਰੀਜੈ ਗੁਣ ਕੇਰੀ. ਕਹਿੰਦੇ what do we want to do instead? We want to acknowledge somebody's actual quality. And pyare, sometimes we get mixed up. We think that nay. You know what? Maharaj Guru Sahib Ji has told us and warned us. And I've seen this happening many of times to me. I will share most things jithe augan di gyal hai pyareo. When I'm talking about faults, if I am talking bringing forward a negative quality, I will tell you more so of that because I've experienced it in my own self. Pyareo, koi luko wali gal nahi. There's nothing it's not about hiding it, because I can't hide it from my Satguru, because my Satguru is a mirror, and I can't hide it from the Sangat. These are things that I have gone through myself. And often what happens is, this is very subtle. And we'll say, but what about what Maharaj said? We'll say that Maharaj says, Ustat ninda dau tyage khoje pad nirbana. That we've got to overcome both of these. But what we don't realize is that we're actually, we look at this, what Paj is saying, that to overcome both, to rise above both slander and praise. But what we'll do is, we will stop acknowledging somebody's even quality because we've got this fear, oh no, I don't want to do that because that'll become praise. And praising somebody is not good for me, and it's not good for them as well. So within that fear, but what we don't do is we're more loose, we'll let go a lot more, we'll let go of our alertness, and instead we'll end up slandering instead, because it's always easier. We'll always look at the ogre. But Sangat ji, par sach eh a hun ਅਸੀਂ मैं आप महापुरखां दे नाल बड़ी संगत कीती. हाँ प्यारिओ, ਜਿਹੜਾ महापुरख ਆ ना, ਉਹ ਉਸਤਤ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਦੇ, ਪਰ ਇੱਕ ਗੱਲ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ, ਉਹ ਹੱਲਾ ਛੇਰੀ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ. A महापुरख प्यारी, yes, they don't praise, but what they do is they give you if you look at it in today's terms, I don't even know how to translate halla cheri. The only way I could probably find even close to it is halla cheri is like, so I'll just give you an example what they'll say. So they'll say something like, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਮਹਾਂਪੁਰਖਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਅਸੀਂ ਪਿਆਰਿਓ ਸੰਗਤ ਕੀਤੀ, ਧੰਨ ਬਾਬਾ ਗੱਜਨ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ, ਬਾਈ ਜੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਸੀਗੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੇ ਕੁਝ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਨਾ, when somebody would read their part really well, when they would pronounce Gurbani really well, they'd say shabash, shabash. And shabash means well done. And Sangat ji, they'll say shabash, well done. And ਪਿਆਰਿਓ ਗੁਰੂ ਗੋਬਿੰਦ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਜੀ ਨੇ ਵੀ ਕਿਹਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਨਾ, ਜਦੋਂ ਬਾਬਾ ਅਜੀਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ ਉਸ ਰਣ ਤੱਤੇ ਉੱਪਰ ਜੂਝਦੇ, when Baba Ajit Singh Ji was fighting on that battlefield, and on that battlefield when Baba Ajit Singh Ji, when they fell to the ground, and ਜਦੋਂ ਬਾਬਾ ਜੀ when ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਸਰੀਰ ਵਿੰਨਿਆ ਗਿਆ, when their body was pierced, Sangat Ji, with arrows. And what we forget about is them days, remember, because Babur actually introduced guns into India. So that was well before, that was in the 1500s, that Babur actually introduced guns into and brought guns within India. And whatever types of guns they were, so during Kalgitar Pachaji's times, so a lot of the times the Mughals, because they always had the state of the art, whatever was in like new weaponry, because they were the rulers of that time. ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਥੋੜਾ ਕੁਝ ਘਾਟਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਉਦੋਂ ਪਿਆਰੇ, ਉਹ ਜਿਹੋ ਜੀਆਂ ਵੀ ਬੰਦੂਕਾਂ ਸੀਗੀਆਂ, whatever type of guns they would have had of that time, ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਲੱਕੜ ਦੀਆਂ ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ ਸੀਗੀਆਂ, they used to actually have wooden guns as well at one time. And ਪਿਆਰਿਓ, that Baba Ajit Singh Ji, when we read Chamkor Gadi battle by Bhai Veer Singh Ji, will write in that there were bullets shot as well. And when Baba Ajit Singh Ji's body fell onto the ground, Guru Gobind Singh Ji Pachaji ne ਉੱਥੇ ਉਸ ਉੱਪਰ ਚੜ ਕਰਕੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਪੁੱਤਰ ਮੇਰਿਆ, ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਸ਼ਾਬਾਸ਼. Guru Gobind Singh Ji said, well done. ਪਿਆਰਾ ਹੱਲਾ ਛੇਰੀ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਦੇ ਨਹੀਂ, giving somebody ਸ਼ਾਬਾਸ਼, well done, carry on. ਇੰਨੋ ਪਿਆਰਿਓ, ਇਹ ਉਸਤਤ ਨਹੀਂ. This isn't praise. And instead it'll be a lot easier to give up praise when we're actually thinking about these things, but then nindya we will still end up doing things like that. So don't end up saying anything, because we don't want someone to get jealous if you praise them. We don't want to give them any pump. Yes, ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇਹ ਐਵੇਂ ਫੂਕਾ ਮਾਰਨੀਆਂ ਖਾਲੀ, giving somebody these empty pumps, yes, that's what we've got to restrain from. ਤਾਂ ਸਾਡੇ ਮਹਾਂਪੁਰਖ ਪਿਆਰੇ ਬਾਬਾ ਗੱਜਨ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ ਬਾਈ ਜੀ, ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਸੀ, ਜਦੋਂ ਵੀ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੇ ਕੁਝ ਕਰਨਾ ਪਿਆਰਿਓ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਸਾਰੀ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ ਐਵੇਂ ਗੁਜ਼ਾਰ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਤੇ whole life was spent like this। ਜਦੋਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੇ ਸ਼ਬਦ ਪੜ੍ਹਨਾ, ਕਿਸੇ ਨੇ ਕੀਰਤਨ ਕਰਨਾ ਤਾਂ ਬਾਈ ਜੀ ਨੇ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ। ਭਾਵੇਂ ਪਿਆਰਿਓ ਗੁਰੂ ਨਾਨਕ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਸਨ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਹਰ ਵੇਲੇ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ, they'd say thank you। Whatever somebody would do, if somebody brought a glass of water, if somebody did kirtan, they were doing it for themselves, no matter what they were doing, always Bhaiji would say ਧੰਨਵਾਦ, they would say thank you। Pyareo, why? Because it gives somebody a little push, it gives somebody some acknowledgement, encouragement। ਤਾਂ ਪਿਆਰਿਓ, ਤਾਂ ਇੱਥੇ ਸਤਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਹਿਣ ਲੱਗੇ, ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਸਾਂਝ ਕਰੀਜੈ ਗੁਣੇ ਕੇਰੀ, ਛੋੜ ਅਵਗਣ ਚੱਲੀਏ। ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਜੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਛੋੜ। They said, you know, ਇੱਥੇ ਲਿਖਿਆ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ let us abandon our faults and walk on the path। ਪਿਆਰਿਓ, ਇੱਥੇ it's saying to abandon our faults, but another arth we can do for this is when we're sitting in a group of people, the best thing we can do is when we've associated with someone, Sanj Kirije, is share our qualities with each other। Whatever quality we have, share that quality। Sangat ji, ਕਿਸੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜੇ ਗੁਣ ਆ ਨਾ, ਉਹ ਗੁਣ ਵੰਡੋ ਪਿਆਰਿਓ, but give out that quality, whatever quality that is। ਪਰ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ if somebody else, if you have seen that somebody's got a fault inside of them, ਕਹਿੰਦੇ let that go। ਕਹਿੰਦੇ don't embrace that, let that go, and don't look down at them for that। Instead, you give them more positive energy। ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਜੀ ਕਹਿਣ ਲੱਗੇ ਇੱਥੇ, ਖੈਰ ਪਿਆਰਿਓ, ਇਹਦੇ ਅਰਥ ਤਾਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੈ। ਇਹ ਇੱਕ ਪੰਕਤੀ ਦੇ just of this one ਪੰਕਤੀ of ਸਾਂਝ ਕਰੀਜੈ ਗੁਣੇ ਕੇਰੀ, we could do about 4 different arth of it। It's not just about, you know, saying, oh look what I can do, I can translate it 4 different ways। It's not about that, it's about what we can get out of it। But let's continue with the saloks, pyareo, that in itself can be a topic of itself, just that one pankti can। Paatshah ji kende chalang chidrang, as I am bringing this Sangat ji to your attention, this is starting to make us more conscious of our own ways and what we do। So what do? We switch that, Sangat ji। Instead of keep telling our child, our partner, that you know what, you like this, you like that, that reinforces that more। But if we truly want good for someone, why would we make somebody feel even worse, make them feel even more bad for, you know, if they kind of are stuck in this little rut of being that way, getting into that habit? You know, keep giving them that love, keep reminding yourself, tell yourself that all you have to give is love, all you have to give is kindness। Pyareo, this week as well, as I'm feeling a little emotional today, because obviously I've suffered 3.5 ਸਾਲ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ, 3.5 years of where this journey started, of starting to suffer, when I started to go through bouts of depression, anxiety, and you know, today I think it started where it's an awareness week for mental health. It's mental health awareness week, and the focus is on kindness, being kind to yourself, and if you're able to be kind to yourself, is spreading that kindness। Sangat ji, this is no new age thing saying being kind to yourself. Kind to yourself on a deeper level. What does it mean? It means to find the kindness within yourself, which is that compassion. That compassion which is that comes from Vaheguru Ji. And it's acknowledging that kindness within ourselves, and it's letting that kindness spread to our own self as well। You know, being kind in many different ways to ourselves is not beating ourselves up if we don't get all our chores done in the day. Being kind to ourselves if we're not able to get up Amrit Vele, still remaining and being kind to ourselves, whatever situation of our life is, and then spreading that kindness। and then reminding, and then not telling somebody else, saying you should be more kind. Don't tell them to be more kind. What's more powerful is if you are kind to them. If they are feeling low and they're a bit edgy, but then don't fight fire with fire. Spread that kindness to them. And being this mental health awareness week, and I thought that, many years ago, I would have thought nothing of it. I thought, this is all chochale, karde. And something chochale means, you just think, they're just making a hype out of nothing, just get on with it. But the truth is, this stuff is no joke. ਜਦੋਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨਾ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਤੇ ਕਹਾਵਤ ਹੈ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਇੱਕ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਇੱਕ ਵਾਰੀ ਪੁਰਜਾ ਹਿਲ ਜਾਵੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਉਹ ਜਿਹਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਰਹਿੰਦਾ ਸੰਗਤ ਜੀ there's a saying when purja means a piece of equipment, not a purja is the best way to translate purja is it's like a little part that belongs to a machine, so something that fits within a machine. And often Purja is referred to as our brain, and they say once that kind of is out, once it shifts and it comes out of place, and they say that it's never the same again. Yes, that's not the truth, but a big truth of that is once somebody starts to suffer with something, yes, it can be a challenge for the rest of your life, where you have to then try and maintain good, healthy mental health. But Sangaji, that instead of looking at the faults of others, let's spread our kindness to them. Bhattaji here, and this Katha today may have seemed a little bit negative, but all I'm doing is going through what Guru Arjan Dev Ji Bhattaji is saying here, because it's very important to bring forward the reality of our lives as well. And not just, being in that place of being in denial is very dangerous as well. So, aao pyare Pacha kehn lage kende chalang chidrang kot bignang. And sometimes Pacha is saying people become so nasty that they actually quote karoda hi. Karoda means Sangatji, millions. So millions of beginning obstacles they'll put in other people's lives. Sangatji, this is another one that we sometimes end up doing with our own partners. We'll sometimes end up testing them. Jidapa Rab hunne na, thinking that we're Rab, thinking that we're God. We'll end up testing our own partners and saying, you know what, and we might do something silly with them. For example, something might irritate them. Just anything little silly. They might not like something a particular way. They might not like their food a particular way. And they might like the house temperature, a certain temperature. I don't know, Sangaji, what it is for your home situations. Whatever it is. And sometimes we'll do it janke. And sometimes we'll do it on purpose, and we'll say, no, I was just seeing how tolerant you can be and how much you can actually, endure this. Sangaji, sometimes we end up trying to play God. And people say that God tests us, but God doesn't test us. We've got that all wrong anyway. We end up testing and putting obstacles in the way of our partners instead of our children. Instead, we were supposed to make life easier for them, not test them. And Sangaji, we think that God tests us. No, God does not test us. People say that this whole virus is a big test. No, it's not. You tell me, Sangaji, where in Guru Granth Sahib Ji Pachaji Bani does it say that God tests us? It doesn't. Yes, there's one Pankti in Guru Granth Sahib Ji Pachaji Bani where it talks about that Guru Nanak Dev Ji Pachaji tested the Sikhs, and they've used the word kok. Kok means it. Kokna means not literally test. It means to see, where somebody is at. Pyareo, Guru Nanak Dev Ji can do that because they can see and they perfect themselves. We try and test sometimes our own people that we apparently love, and we're not perfect ourselves. ਸਾਡੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਪ ਇੰਨੀਆਂ ਭੁੱਲਾਂ ਨੇ, we've got so many ਗਲਤੀਆਂ in ourselves, and we try and test them. And let me clear that ਗੱਲ up that God does not test us. Sangat ji, life we can look at as a test. That's down to us. Every moment of life we can look at it as a test. But where Qudrat is concerned, where Akal Purkh Waheguru Ji is concerned, unne ek sansar chalaya hoya ek hukam de vich, that Waheguru Ji is running everything under their hukam, under a set of laws that they have created, to everything that you could imagine. You know, sometimes some people get technical about this, that, oh, what laws are you talking about? You know what, forget this technicality, forget these scientific terms. When we say the laws, we're just talking about everything has got a system, a law behind it. And Sangat ji, there's some things that we do that bring pain to us. There's things that we end up doing it in life that bring pain to us mentally, bring pain to us physically. Yes, we can learn from it, and then we can take that as a test. There's a situation that's occurred in our life. Somebody's being very challenging at work with us. We think we are perceiving it to be that somebody's being nasty to us. We can take that as a test, but that's not Waheguru testing us. But we can look at it as a test because it makes it more challenging. Because if we take that situation as a test, it can help us to actually take more from it. It can help us to grow into a more patient person. It can help us to test ourselves in how much depth we've got of kindness to spread, or does it run out straight away? Sangat ji, so for us, many of times in our life that we sometimes miss the opportunity. That sometimes when I see my son, I might see my son a little bit down. As soon as he's down, I go into this panic mode. I start blaming myself. Start saying, is it because of me? Is it because I had my breakdown? And you know, over time in my own brain, instead of saying, oh wow, thank you for this opportunity. This will be a great challenge and a test to help me find God within this situation. Instead of finding Mr. Invisible God, why not take my son for this moment to be God? And this little God is going to now challenge me and help me to grow my compassion and to grow my endurance and patience during this period and during this time. Because so many times we fool ourselves. We tell ourselves that, you know what, oh, I love Guru Nanak Dev Ji so much. But Sangat ji, that's easy to say now. Because the truth is, when Guru Nanak Dev Ji Pacha Ji was here walking upon this earth in a physical body, there's people that said, koi aakhe putana, ko kehe betala. People were saying that Guru Nanak Dev Ji is a ghost walking around, saying he's gone crazy. Say koi aakhe putana. Putana is such a negative way to actually describe someone. Guru Nanak Dev Ji tells us themselves, this is how people used to describe me. Koi aakhe putana. People used to call me this poot, this ghost. Kende koi aakhe putana ko keh betala. They said some people used to say that I am betal, and here it's translated to a demon. Because why is it translated to demon? This comes from the word tal. Tal means rhythm. I might not be getting the exact word to be able to translate it, but like, don't get stuck in all of that, Sangat ji. It's about just so tal, loosely, let's say, just in case anybody's going to be technical out there, it translates to rhythm. Be means that's somebody that's come out of rhythm, so that's lost their mind, that's become very demon-like. This is how some people call Guru Nanak Dev Ji. Sangat ji, what is it? Because it's so much easier to love somebody that walked on this earth 500 years ago than actually practice our qualities in finding that God within those people that we live with. Because we want the perfect person to find God through. But that's not the way this whole game has been made for us. It's easy said, oh, that light of God's in everyone. Sangat ji, ਇਹ ਸੌਖੀਆਂ ਆ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਕਹਿਣੀਆਂ. These things are so easy to say. And Sangat ji, ਅੱਜ ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ, you might think that, whoa, he's going on one a little bit, ਪਰ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਪਿਆਰੋ ਕੇ ਵੀ ਪੜਾਸ ਜੀ ਕੱਢਣੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ. And sometimes, it's good to just kind of let it out. Because Sangat ji, I tell you what, because the truth is, when everything's going all good, and you're all happy, Larry, you've got a good vibe about you, everybody wants to be around you and be your friend. But I'll tell you what, when you're struggling, and when you're seeing that difficult, hard time, it's not easy for people to continue to keep a relationship with you. You can only handle so much. So God isn't testing us, but we can take that situation, that as an opportunity, as a test. We could meet God through that situation. Because if our qualities grow so deep that they become so much inside of us that they become limitless, where there's no end to them. Sangat ji, tell you a little story about a Mahapurkh in Amritsar. This Mahapurkh dedicated his complete entire life to seva, to serving people out there. I've forgotten their name. Some people are waiting for the perfect opportunity to serve. And sometimes that seva is sitting right in front of us, but we're saying, no, I love Guru Nanak. But those that's easy to say. But those that had Guru Nanak Dev Ji Pacha Ji in front of them, you ask them, when somebody seems to come across so bizarre, somebody that is coming out, somebody that wouldn't eat for days as growing up, some people today is saying Sikhi is all about, getting up on time, making sure you go to work on time, and people think that Sikhi is only that. What about that part of Sikhi when you are so besotted and you don't come out of Birag and you don't come out of Simran for 4 or 5 days? Because that used to happen to Guru Nanak Dev Ji, let me tell you that. Because Guru Nanak Dev Ji didn't used to eat for days. Guru Nanak Dev Ji didn't used to talk for days. And you think society could handle that? Their own parents struggled with it. Their own parents said, oh my God, what's wrong with you? Mata Tripta Ji would say, they say that, if somebody started to fall in love with Guru Nanak Dev Ji, like the maid within Tulsa Dasi once, she completely lost her hosh when she kissed Guru Nanak Dev Ji Pacha Ji's toe, because Mata Tripta Ji said, go inside and call Nanak, wake him up and tell him to come and eat something. This is during a time when Guru Nanak Dev Ji Pacha Ji had left home on the Udasi, but had come back to visit. Tulsa Dasi ai, judo vekhya, pyare Tulsa Dasi ne vekhya कि धन श्री गुरु नानक देव जी पातशाह जी पै हुए ने ਤਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਅੱਖਾਂ ਮਿੱਟੀਆਂ ਹੋਈਆਂ ਨੇ. ਉਹ ਆਈਆ ਮਾਤਾ ਜੀ ਤੇ ਕਹਤੇ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਗੁਰੂ ਨਾਨਕ ਦੇਵ ਜੀ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਜੀ ਨੂੰ ਅੱਜ ਮੈਂ ਠਾਲਣ ਆਈ ਆ, ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪ੍ਰਸ਼ਾਦਾ ਕੇ ਛਕਲਣ ਆ ਕਰਕੇ. ਤਾਂ ਪਰ ਤੁਲਸਾ ਦਾਸੀ ਨੇ, she's coming inside to wake Guru Nanak Dev Ji Pacha Ji up to come outside and eat something. But when she sees that Guru Nanak Dev Ji Pacha Ji's got their eyes closed, ਉਹ ਤੋਂ ਪਿਆਰਿਓ ਅੱਜ ਰਹਿ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਇਆ. But she cannot help herself, she cannot stop herself. ਉਹ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਆ ਮੇਰੇ ਧੰਨ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਨਾਨਕ ਦੇਵ ਜੀ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਜੀ ਦੇ ਵੱਲ. ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੀ ਅੱਜ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਹੋਇਆ ਕਿ ਬਾਅਦ she says, I don't know what happened to me today. ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਇੰਜ ਮਹਿਸੂਸ ਹੋਇਆ ਮੈਨੂੰ, ਕਹਿੰਦੀ ਇੱਕ ਕਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਜੀ ਮੇਰੇ ਅੰਦਰ ਪੈਦਾ ਹੋਈ. ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਇੱਕ ਗੁਰੂ ਨਾਨਕ ਦੇਵ ਜੀ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਜੀ is like this magnet. ਦੇ ਚਰਨ, ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਦੇ ਚਰਨ was like a magnet. and then there was this pull. Kashish means there was pull. I could not help myself. Kendi mera cease, my head started to go towards the charan. The kendi main mera matha una de charna par la ditta. And she said, I put my head on the charan. The kendi hoya ki. Kendi the moment I put my head on the Pachaji's charan and I kissed their toe. Kendi mere kapat khul gaye. Kendi my whole inside opened. Pyareo, when everything opened from inside, what could she see? Kehn lagi kendi na. Kendi Guru Nanak Pachaji sutte thodi ne. She said Guru Nanak Dev Ji Pachaji's only the body is lying here, but Pachaji's inside Sukham Sarir. It's actually gone out and it's saving that boat, that ship of who? Bhai Mansukh, who was a trader, who was one of Guru Nanak Dev Ji Pachaji's out of the first few Gursikhs who became a Gursikh. Pyare Bhai Mansukh was a great merchant. He was a trader. He was traveling and his ship was actually sinking. Guru Nanak Dev Ji Pachaji was saving his ship from sinking as he was doing ardas to Sache Pachaji. Oh pyare, oh ta kamli ho gayi. She's gone crazy. She comes running out and she's saying, kehn lagi, Mataji kendi thalya sutte hoye no. Have you woke him up that's asleep? Tab utte Tulsa Dasi kendi maa. Kendi sara sansar bhave sutta hoga. Kendi je koi jagda o Guru Nanak ya. She said the whole world might be asleep, but let me tell you, if there's anyone awake today, it's Guru Nanak. She said only we're seeing him from outside, but you asked me what I saw today. He's there helping somebody's ship from sinking today. Pata nahi pyareo je kite apa andro ardas kariye, pata nahi sada vi jira eh dubda hoya ya. Eh dubdi hui bedi sache Pachi sadi vi aj aake banne la den. We don't know pyareo. If we do that ardas from inside and say, Pachaji, come and save me, Guru Nanak Dev Ji Pachaji is beyond that body and they can come and save us. Oh, Kamli ho gayi. She's gone crazy. Kyun? Why did she go crazy? Because Guru Nanak Dev Ji Pachaji didn't want her to let out all the secrets. That Pachaji kende chaliye tum keho jiyan gallan karan lag piyan. They said, oh Challi. They said, oh crazy lady, what are you saying? And pyareo, मां ने उत्थे क्या सीगा. माता तृप्ता जी कहन लगे कहंदे तुलसा दासी पहला तो मेरे पुੱਤ ਨੂੰ ਸਾਰੇ कमले कहंदे सन, ਹੁਣ ਕਹਿਣਗੇ कि ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਤਾਂ ਘਰ ਦੀ ਦਾਸੀ ਵੀ ਕਮਲੀ ਹੋ ਗਈ. They said first everybody was calling my son crazy, now everybody will start calling that even the maid of their house is crazy as well. Sangat ji, we don't always understand someone. It's easy to say that we love such and such, but to find God within that situation at home is the most difficult thing that we could ever do. But this Mahaprabhu said, this Mahaprabhu lived his whole life in serving others. Aj मां ने बड़ा जोर लाया, पुत्रा तेरी उम्र वधदी जांदी है, तू विआह करवा ला. The mother said to this Mahaprabhu said, get married. You're getting older and older. कहन लगा मां, कहना मैं विआह नहीं करा सकदा. उस वाहिगुरु ने मेरी ड्यूटी लाई आ. That Vaheguru ji has given me a duty to just serve. सेवा करनी मनुखताई दी, to serve the people of this world that hasn't got that ability to look after themselves. Those that are crippled, to go and help them. कहन लगी मां, नहीं पुत्र इंज नहीं हो सकदा, तैनू विआह जरूर कराना पऊगा. No, this can't happen, you're going to have to get married. कहंदे मां मैं विआह करवाऊंगा पर एक शर्त ते. I will get married but there I've got one condition. कहन लगी दस पुत्रा जेड़ी मर्जी शर्त होवे, तू तां बड़ा नेक पुत्र, तू तां शर्त भी नेक रखूंगा ना. You're so noble that obviously whatever condition you put will be noble as well. कहंदा मां मैं आप विआह कराउणा, मैं आप जाके मेरे वास्ते विआह करवाउण वास्ते मैं आप लभूंगा ते मैं आप विआह करके उन्होंने घर लैके आऊंगा. Mother, I'm going to find my own wife, my own bride. I'm going to marry her and then I'll come home once I'm married. कहंदी पुत्रा चाह हुंदा बड़ी मावां नूं, मापे दा तां चाह हुंदा कि असीं साडे पुत्तर दा विआह देखिए. She said that parents are always living in this to see this day for their child to get married. कहन लगा माँ बस यही मेरी एक शर्त आ. She said, okay son. Everyone got worried. We all thought he was a saint. Maybe that's why he wasn't getting married, because maybe he was seeing somebody. Maybe she's out of caste or something. People started talking. प्यारे महापुरखा ने जाके अपना आनंद कारज किया. आनंद कारज करके वो अंदर अज अपने जो वो घरों सी उन्होंने घर लेके आए. He's brought his wife pride home. What does his mother see? That his wife is completely disabled and is not able to do anything for herself. कहन लगा मां मेरी ड्यूटी आ सेवा करन दी. मैं नहीं सी चाहुंदा मेरी ड्यूटी दे विच विघन पै जावे. जे मेरा विआह हो जांदा मैं तो बाहर मनुखताई दी सेवा नहीं सी होनी. Mother, if I got married, I would have not have been able to completely devote and dedicate myself to serving humanity, because my duties would have been shared then. He said, so now I can continue till my last breath, or until her last breath. She will become my devotion and seva from today. I will serve her till my last breath. प्यारो कह देना कि सारिਆਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਰੱਬ ਦੀ ਜੋਤ ਆ. ਸਭ ਮੈਂ ਜੋਤ ਜੋਤ ਹੈ ਸੋਏ, ਤਿਸ ਤੇ ਚਾਨਣ ਸਭ ਮੈਂ ਚਾਨਣ ਹੋਏ. But to actually see the light of God in everyone and to serve them. Taking that situation in our homes, work, whatever it is, it's not a test by God, because then that God will become, in some people's eyes, cruel. Because for some people in their lives, those tests might be horrific. Those tests might be that they've been sexually abused as a child. Those tests might be that they've been abused and beaten so bad by their parents. So if you say it's a test by God, people will not want to believe in that God, because God was never something to believe in. God was something to experience, but instead we take these situations as a challenge and a test to grow our qualities deeper. Sanj Grija. Whatever situation it is, remember I said there's so many arth to this pangti, whatever situation it is, to grow our own qualities from that situation. Then we'll start experiencing God. We won't need to believe, because if you try and believe in God and say this is a test, I tell you what, there'll be more people hating on that God than loving that God, because we hear it all the time. Chalang chidrang kot bignang. People put many obstacles in other people's way, trying to play God, trying to trip people up, deceiving them. Na pyaryo, aparadang kilbak malang. Kandat, this is the biggest crime you can do in your life. That is to accuse other people, is to blame other people, is to challenge, to deceive other people, is to put obstacles in other people's lives, is trying to test other people. They said this is biggest aparad you can do. This is a crime, outright. Kilibak Malang, they said, you're dirting yourself with these sins that you are doing. These are sins. Parama mohang, because we're stuck in this param, in this wandering of doubt, mohang, of this attachment of this to this life. Man, we're stuck in man, in wanting to be honored, wanting respect, demanding respect instead of earning respect. Apamanang. And then when we get disrespected, it brings us down. We get hurt, we get angered. Madang Maya, because we're intoxicated in this illusion. Byapatang, we become entangled and engrossed. Paanch कहने कहते मृत्यु, कहते मृत्यु. So ਤੱਤੇ ਦੇ ਪੈਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਅੱਧਾ ਯਈਆ ਨਾਲੇ ਔਂਕੜਿਆ, ਸੋ ਮੰਮੇ ਦੇ ਪੈਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਅੱਧਾ ਰਾਰਾ, ਤਾਂ ਅੱਧੇ ਰਾਰੇ ਨੂੰ ਇੱਥੇ ਸਿਹਾਰੀ ਮ੍ਰਿਤਿੂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ, ਮ੍ਰਿਤਿੂ ਜਨਮ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ। then what happens is we remain in that cycle of death, janam, birth and death, pramant, going round and round in narka, in this hell. That is hell. Sangat ji, living that life of chalang, of deceiving, chidrang, of blaming, accusing, testing, beginning, putting obstacles in people's lives, tripping them up all the time, making them look stupid, bringing them down, cursing them, laughing on their, Sangaji, laughing at them, laughing at their expense, hurting their feelings. This is nark. You're living in hell, Maharaji said. Anik upavang na siddhyate. This is now when we then try and get out of that cycle of birth and death because of what we have done. We can't do nothing about that now. We have to live out what we have done. We have to take that responsibility now. You can't shift the blame then. Nirmalang Sad Sangha, Pachi saying you can become pure. How? Sad Sangha, in the company of saints. Japanta, by meditating on Nanak Gopal Namang, on the name of Gopal, on the name of Vaheguruji. Ramant Gun Gobind, can they instilling, Ramant meaning to instill the gun, the qualities of God inside of us, nit prate, constantly, every moment. If we feel that this is a challenge in our life, then we say, bring it on. This is going to become my test now. Nit prata, every moment I see how can I instill even more kindness inside of me in this situation. Nit prata. Sangat ji, इतनी एक बेनतियां प्रवान करनियां, एक नहीं पर अनेक ही गलतियां हो गई हैं। मैनू अपना छोटा जिहा बच्चा समझ के, मैनू अपना वीर समझ के, पुत्र समझ के प्यारिओ, जे कोई छोटियां मेरियां धीआं देख रही ने, मैनू पिता समान समझ के मैनू बख्श देना। मैं औगणा नाल भरिया पिया प्यारिओ। I'm full of mistakes. ਅਸੀਂ ਖੱਤੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਕਮਾਉਂਦੇ, ਅੰਤ ਨਾ ਪਾਰਾ ਵਾਰ। ਤਾਂ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਜੀ, ਸੰਗਤ ਜੀ, I am full of many mistakes. Don't take me sitting here to be somebody that is able to get rid of your problems. I'm here, but I do beg for one thing, that har kirpa karke baksh leho hau papi van gunegar. I am a great sinner. Pacha ji is nobody as merciful as you, and there's nobody as loving and merciful as the Sangat. So please forgive me for all my mistakes. Meri ardas ek kya pyareo, I have one dream, I have one vision in my life. That vision is to be filled with love and compassion, and to spread that to the rest of the world. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki